Hello everyone, welcome back. This is a new lecture in your course Git and GitHub by Eduonix. My name is Ahmed, and in this section we are going to work exclusively with GitHub. In the previous lectures and in the previous sections of this course, we've been working with command line tool Git, and this was perfectly sufficient for interacting with Git repositories both locally and remotely on GitHub. However, starting this section, we are going to delve into the popular public Git repository, which is called GitHub. Actually, I've been using GitHub a lot of times since the start of this course whenever we dealt with remote repositories. However, GitHub is not just a central repository where you can push and pull files from and to your remote repository, and it's not just only for facilitating collaboration between multiple teams of developers around the world. It has a lot more than that, as we are going to see in this section. And to fully use the options and features offered by GitHub, we need another tool other than the Git command line tool. A team of developers created a wrapper around Git command that adds capabilities to work with GitHub, and it's called Hub. So Hub is a command line tool that can do everything Git does, plus it adds more features and options to make it work exclusively with the GitHub application. This project is hosted at this URL that you see on the screen. So you can clone this repository using the git clone command that we discussed before, as you do with other repositories. However, to install it, there are some prerequisites that must be available first on your machine. Let's discuss them in the next slide. So, to be able to install Hub on your local machine, you will have to have those 4 prerequisites. The Go language. The Go language is a language developed by Google. It is a prerequisite for Hub to be installed. It also needs Ruby. Ruby is a popular programming language. It works just like Perl, Python, and PHP. And Ruby Gems. Ruby Gems is an extension that allows Ruby to download and install packages that are so-called gems. And finally, Bundler. And a bundler is a Ruby gem that is a package that can be installed using Ruby, and it is also a prerequisite for Hub. If you don't know about those languages, if you don't know about these packages, don't worry. They are just prerequisites for Hub. They are just considered them like libraries or like building blocks for Hub. You don't have to understand them. You don't have to have any experience working with them. You just need to install them in order to get Hub working. And this is exactly what we are going to do in the next lab. The first thing we're going to do is that we are going to install the Go language. The Go language can be installed on a Red Hat Enterprise Linux using Yum. And if you are using other distributions of Linux like Debian or Ubuntu, for example, you can use apt-get install to install the Go language. However, if you are working on Red Hat Enterprise Linux, you are going to need the EPL repository to be enabled. If you don't know what EPL is, it is just another repository that you can use to download packages. And if you didn't use package management before, package management is just a way for the Linux system to download and install the needed packages from the internet. And to do that, it uses something called repositories, which are just containers for packages. Large libraries that contain lots of packages that can be indexed by the Linux system and can be used to download any missing packages. EPEL is just one of those repositories. So in order to download and install Go languages, we're just gonna use this command in order to enable the EPEL repository and then use Yum to install Go. So the first thing we're gonna do is that we are going to download this package, then use RPM to install it. It's just very straightforward. Just follow the steps, follow the commands that are written in this PDF. Then once the EPEL repository is enabled, you can just use yum-y install to install Go, like the following. Okay, now that the Go language is installed, let's install Ruby. And Ruby as a language can be installed using Yum the same way you did install Go, but actually Hub requires a more recent version than the one that gets installed using Yum. So for that reason, we are not going to use Yum to install Ruby. However, we are going to download and install Ruby from source. At the time of this recording, the latest version of Ruby is 2.4. At the time you view this course, there may be a more recent version of Ruby. You are always encouraged to install the latest version, unless otherwise instructed by Hub. So let's clear the screen and download the latest version from the source, from the Ruby website. Now let's unpack the package tar-xvf just to uncompress the package. Let's clear the screen and let's go inside the package. And in order to build from source, just use those three commands in turn: configure, make, and make install. Pressing enter, it will take some time to continue. It will build Ruby from source and install it at the same time. Okay, now Ruby is installed. If we just type Ruby minus V, I guess, yes, it's 2.4, which is the latest at the time of this recording. Now the next component that we need to install is Ruby Gems, and as mentioned, Ruby Gems is just a package management system used by Ruby. Don't worry, it's just a prerequisite for the hub command line tool. You don't have to understand what exactly Ruby or Ruby Gems or the Go language do. Just install them. Okay, I'm downloading here the source of Ruby Gems from the source website. This one, it's all mentioned in the steps in the PDF file. And once it is downloaded, let's untar it using tar-xvf Ruby Gems. Let's clear the screen and go inside the directory and issue this command. Since we have Ruby installed, we are going to run ruby setup.rb in order to install Ruby Gems. It's gonna take a little while to install. Now it's done. Let's clear the screen. And once we have Ruby and Ruby Gems installed, let's cd out. We were gonna use the gem command to install bundler, and bundler is the last prerequisite needed by the hub command line tool. Now it has installed, and now we have all the prerequisites necessary to install the hub command line tool. Now let's clone hub to our local directory using git clone, just like we clone any other Git repository to our local machine. Okay, once downloaded, let's go to the directory of hub and issue this command: make install prefix equals /user/local. It is going to use the Go language, Ruby, Ruby Gems, and bundler all the prerequisites that we have just downloaded in order to install hub to your local machine. Here, as you can see, you have a warning that we are running bundler as root. Generally, you shouldn't be running everything in your machine as root. We're just doing that here to facilitate things, but in a production environment, you shouldn't be running as root. You should be running as a normal user and switching to root whenever necessary only. Okay, now it has been installed. Let's clear the screen and cd out of that directory. Let's just issue hub. As you can see here, hub is a very powerful command line tool, and as mentioned, it uses everything that Git uses. It has all the options of Git plus some additional options for working with the GitHub application exclusively. I encourage you to visit its website at github.com/github/hub and have a look at the README. As you can see here, Git plus hub equals GitHub. This gives you a brief introduction to what hub is all about. It's just Git with some added features. As you can see here, these are the different ways to install hub on Mac OS X and on Linux. And it's worth noting here that installing hub on Mac OS X or on Windows with its prerequisites is much easier than it is with Linux. That's why I covered Linux in a little more detail here in this section. But if you want to install it on a different operating system, you'll find it's pretty much easier than it is on Linux. So I encourage you to have a look at this webpage of hub and to gain a more idea about what it's all about. And once it's installed, let's say for example that we are in our greeter application. If you remember, issuing hub log, as you can see here, will produce the very same output that git log produced. If you remember, git log produced this output which displays all the operations that have been done on the repository. So this proves to you that Hub is just a wrapper around Git. It uses Git, but it adds more and more features that enable us to work with GitHub. And that is what we're going to do in the next lecture of this section. We are going to use Hub to work with GitHub, so stay tuned.